Hello, I'm Jack Rickard with EVTV. This is my compadre and consigliere, Breno Noto.
Hey, it's good to be here again.
It's Saturday.
It's Saturday. Every now and then it's the
It's supposed to be
Saturday
Friday,
show.
but sometimes we have to do it on Saturday.
There's too much excitement going on around here.
Maybe the 13th was Friday?
Well, it was a 11-11-11.
Oh,
It was
was
Friday.
it? 11, 11, 11.
Yeah, 11-11, once every 100 years.
You know, that's an interesting number. Just the week before,
Yeah.
they celebrated, and I don't know how they knew this kid was the kid, the 7 billionth person
Oh, yes.
on the planet Earth.
I know, isn't that crazy? I don't know how they picked that particular kid.
Yeah, how did they know
Were they
he was the one?
Yeah, were they camping out at the hospital?
Must have been waiting for 7 billion to drop.
That's right. Oops. We're in trouble now.
We almost have a whole veneer of false information overlaid over our whole world now, and it's annoying to me.
Yeah, no, it's crazy.
But 7 billion is interesting. I used to have a magazine, Board Watch, and I had at one point 22 people that worked there. And there wasn't a one of them that didn't know what a billion was. And there wasn't a one that didn't know what a million was, but I never could get any of them to figure out what 100 was.
Yeah,
So we all know about
increments of 100.
7 billion, but you can't count to 100
No.
and do it as a task.
Right, not get anything done.
How many people is 7 billion people, Brian?
It's an awful lot of people. They're just everywhere, but nowhere.
The planet is 24,000, maybe 999.55 miles in circumference.
Circumference, yeah, it's a pretty big planet. Small as planets go.
24,900.55.
Yeah, you could like stretch so many cans of pop across the whole thing, right? They always have those.
That's what I'm going to do.
Are you?
Netgain Motors, home of the Warp, Transwarp, and Impulse motors, introduced the improved Warp 9 motor. The Warp 9 is a 9 1/4 diameter series wound DC motor with a double-ended shaft featuring 26 improvements for 2010. Externally, the terminal studs have been enlarged from 3/8 to 1/2 inch diameter. Bigger is better. On the inside, a larger commutator, new brush composition, and split brush design with heavier springs handle even higher voltages and currents than before. Our new fan increases airflow by almost 50% over typical paddle-style fans. And all this translates into improved performance. For even more performance or larger applications, take a look at Netgain's Warp 11 motor, an 11 3/4 diameter series wound DC motor for even greater torque and power. Since 2002, Netgain Motors has been leading the EV industry with precision, performance, and price. Visit us at go-ev.com. Netgain Motors, warp power to go.
Yawn.
You could make a stairway to heaven.
That's right. I miss Ronald Reagan. Here we are. We're about to go into our second presidential race with the entire Republican National Party not even having a candidate.
No, not yet. No, nobody has emerged.
The Democrats remind me of the Polish football team. The other team quit at halftime, and late in the third quarter, the Polish team scored.
They scored.
That's, with the Republicans having removed themselves from the field of battle
I know.
6 years ago.
Yeah.
The Democrats are about to win.
About to win.
It's
curious.
it's terrifying. We have no candidate.
No one has really emerged, and everybody's just made a damn mess of it.
So
Romney's not looking bad.
I think Romney's pathetic.
I don't know. Perry can't seem to
My
get things
daughter
together.
could be president better than Mitt Romney.
Michelle Bachmann, Herman Cain. Oh my God, he's an angry dude.
Yeah. Criminy. And speaking of misinformation and disinformation,
Okay.
the Chevy Volt.
Oh, I've been watching that. They're on a tear right now.
You know, I'm going to buy one of these cars.
I saw you were like looking on eBay
Yeah,
for them.
I'm kind of shopping for one. Yeah.
Just to see what'll happen.
I got to have one of these pieces of POSs.
If you don't keep it anywhere around anything flammable.
Chevy has lied so badly and so many times about this car that it's getting where I think there is a conspiracy. It's a conspiracy by the OEMs to avoid telling the truth even when it would be in their interest.
That's right.
To practice lying in case you
Just in
might
case,
ask
that's right.
something important later where they would need to.
Yeah, you want to be good at it.
That's
just
right.
If you need it, you got to pull it out of your, you know what.
So they've declared they are going to make their 10,000 this year, which they can't. They did finally sell more in October than the Leaf did,
The Leaf, okay.
but it was like 1,000 cars or something.
They
They've
leafed
sold
over the
five-
Leaf?
No, that for that month.
Yeah, for the
They've sold like 5,000 of the
That's
cars.
sad.
So there's like they required all their Volt qualified dealers to keep one,
Yes, right.
and have touted how this is a draw to get people
Right.
into the showrooms to buy a Chevy
To buy a
Cruze.
Cruze.
Well, they're trying to get to this 10,000 number by the end of the year, so they've notified all the dealers they can sell their.
That's what I was reading. They can sell their little demo car.
So they're going to let their dealers sell their demos
Oh, I count those.
and try to. And there's supposedly 2,300 of them at dealers that they were supposed to use as demos.
Bait.
and they had to agree to keep them for 6 months. Well, it's been 6 months.
Yeah, you would have been 6
And
months.
so the dealers can do this, but GM has announced that they're going to let the dealers sell them,
Oh, okay. Let the dealer sell them.
even though it's been the 6 months that they agreed to
Right.
anyway. See, it's how many eggs can the rooster lay?
That's right. The old rooster laying eggs.
See,
Egg
they're going
laying
to
rooster.
let the dealers sell the Volt demos
Right.
that are now 6 months old when the dealers had agreed to hold them for 6 months.
Isn't that nice of them?
And then they'll be able to reach their
The
10,000 sales by the end of the year.
Well, people still have to come in and buy them.
$5, they ain't gonna reach 10,000.
Yeah, people still have to buy them.
They're gonna have to pencil whip some to reach 10,000. It's okay, we're at the early adopter stage.
Yeah, that's fine. They shouldn't have been
Things-
making those types of claims.
Right,
That's the
my
problem.
whole thing is not that I want everybody to buy alternative fuel cars. I don't myself approve of hybrids for me.
Right,
but
for
it's
some
a
people,
step.
it's a step for some people. It might be how we get them to move toward the full electric car.
And
yeah.
the whole problem is that our relationship to our car, and you have a deeper one than I do.
Oh.
Did you just have a Volvo project? today?
Yeah, this morning I just put new upper rear arms on my Volvo so I could align it.
Our relationship to our car is just, it runs pretty deep.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you're asking people to stop, let's all shit can the fossil fuel cars
Yeah,
and
man,
go
move
drive
over, yeah.
electric cars, do you know what you're asking?
Yeah, that's a huge,
I do.
That's a
actually.
huge undertaking. Yeah.
It's a big leap of faith. Show me first.
Right.
I'm from Missouri.
Right.
And that's all perfectly legitimate.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be kind of a gruesome step-by-step process that is complicated by bullshit.
Yeah, that's really
See,
getting
every
in the way.
time somebody overstates the case or tries to misconstrue it, that deepens the resistance of people. And it's not like nobody has a BS detector.
Right.
People do know.
Yeah. Yeah, they start to screw their face up and wonder what the heck's going on. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so it's but they're not averse to the message we bring.
No.
It's show me. How do I live with a car? It can only go 80 miles or 100 miles. How do I live with a car? It takes 8 hours to fill up. How does this work?
Right.
But yeah, I like quiet, and I like not buying gasoline.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, they're all
Show me.
somewhere there in the
we're
process.
at the show me state of the electric car business, and I viscerally understand this because I live in the show me state,
That's right. Yeah, we're in the show me stage.
Missouri. I
right.
get this part.
Yep.
Every time somebody puts a spin on it, that causes deep alarm and suspicion.
Yeah, and a couple of steps backward.
Now let's talk about the fires.
This has been crazy.
This has got everybody on both sides. The ones I'm really annoyed with are the electric car advocates.
Yeah.
And their bleating, sheep-like insistence on Alice in Wonderland irreality.
Yeah, yeah. Like this can't happen.
Storm Con, and I've been through that. I got my rear end chewed off over Professor Gadget and his fire out there. I can't even respond. I've done so many of these, I can't respond to friends of ours who were saying, well, they finally got you, Jack. They got nothing. And you'll see this play out over time. I've done this. I've got a regular calendar of guys I call about fires. And I get an answer right after the fire. And I get a very emphatic answer at 3 months. And I get a very emphatic answer at 6 months. And I get a very emphatic answer at a year. And I'm not an idiot. And it does have my attention.
Yeah.
I can say nothing at this point, really, about the Volt fire or the Gadget fire, because what happens is a lot of stuff gets mixed up into it, mostly insurance.
Yes.
And the statement that there wasn't any insurance is a barefaced lie. There's always insurance.
There's always something in there, yeah.
Storm Connors is a longtime veteran EV guy. And here's the other thing that the OEMs and the people about this market do not understand. Our viewers, the ones that build the cars, are the low-hanging fruit for sales of the OEM cars.
Right, yeah. They're
You don't understand.
Yeah.
My guys are buying Leafs and Volts. I'm aware of this.
Yeah, they want anything. They want it all.
The Tesla, even GM, Nissan, they have no cognizance of this.
No.
None whatsoever. And they think that the mass market is going to storm in because of their TV ads.
Right.
But they're so accustomed to lying, and everyone's so accustomed to it, nobody believes them.
That's right.
The only one that people are going to believe is like Storm Connors or Fred down in Austin with the bug eye Sprite.
Oh, yeah, Bearing.
Yeah, Fred Baining.
Baining, yeah.
And Tim Cavalier and so forth. Those are this is the low-hanging fruit and the apostleship for the movement.
For the entire movement,
You can get on board with these people, or you cannot be a player, basically, is what's going to shake out.
Right.
But the advocates are almost more annoying than the non-advocates.
I know.
Brighampton, Connecticut. That's not even the right name of the town. Brighampton. Anyway, Storm Connors has a garage. The guy is a volunteer fireman. He knows the fire marshal, and he has insurance.
Yes, that's right. And the fire marshal's name
I'm going
is
to
not
offer
Bill.
the following facts. You draw your own conclusions. He serves with the fire department. The man built an electric vehicle, a nice one. It was a lead acid sled. I don't approve of it, but it was a little Suzuki. Kind of like the Suzuki. It's like a Jeep.
Oh,
it's an SUV.
It was the Samurai.
Yeah, Samurai.
Suzuki Samurai. Yeah.
And he built this car. And they actually had him so brainwashed for a minute, he thought his Suzuki had burned down the garage, ignoring the fact for the moment that he'd had it for years.
Yeah, right. Nothing had happened.
And drove it and had never burned anything down. He buys a Leaf. It has 2,000 miles on it. I don't know how long he had it. It had 2,000 miles on it.
Okay.
They're both parked in his garage, which burns to the ground so horribly you can't identify the address.
What's going on. That's right.
Now, the house didn't touch. He's got a firewall between the two of them. It was very effective.
God, luckily.
Burns to the ground. General Motors immediately shows up and declares it's not the Volt's fault.
Oh, it was a Volt, not a Leaf, right?
A Volt.
Volt. Okay.
Chevy Volt.
Okay. Yeah, not the Volt's fault.
The smoke hadn't cleared off.
Yeah, right,
and
but they
Chevy
said,
has arrived
sure wasn't
to
the Volt's
declare that it's not the Volt's fault. The Volt's really pretty much cleared on this one, and it wasn't the Volt's fault.
Okay.
And not to jump to conclusions.
Yeah, right. Don't jump to conclusions.
As if that is
like
not
they
a
jumped to
conclusion.
conclusion. Yeah, like they jumped to a conclusion.
They put the fire out. 4 freaking days later, the Volt bursts into flames. The same Volt.
Spontaneous
laying
bolt
in the
combustion.
ashes. It starts burning
Starts burning
again.
It knew someone needed to stop this.
And the EV advocates are online saying that Storm Connors was experimenting with a bad boy charger, and that was probably what burned it down. Because, that's a one-off custom thing, and they're never done to professional standards.
Oh my God.
Yeah. This is the
Come on,
EV
guys.
apologist.
Yeah, come on, guys.
This guy's been driving this car for years.
Yeah. Yeah. God, that's crazy.
For years.
Yeah.
And they're trying to blame it on a car that's been there for 2 or 3 years running perfectly
Yeah.
instead of the Volt, which is a brand new model that the guys had for 2 weeks.
And spontaneously burst into flames a second time.
After they put it
After
out.
they put it out.
With heavy equipment. It reignites.
I bet that's where the fire started.
Now, call Storm Connors and he will explain to you why I've got none of this right. If you call him in another 6 months, he'll explain that I really didn't have it exactly right, and here's some details as to why. And if you call him for a year from now, you'll get a whole different story, and I was right all along.
At least we know how it'll turn out.
It is true the fire could have been caused by anything, including intergalactic debris.
Mhm. Yeah. What about a little meteorite?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's completely true.
Yeah.
Now, they've had a second Volt fire
Yes.
in a South Carolina garage. And the EV apologists have jumped out there and said that it can't be the Volt. And here they go again, just like they blame the Volt in the first one, which has been proven not to have been the Volt.
Right. There you go. Yeah.
It's been established as a fact
not the
that it was not the Volt.
Yeah. Don't jump to conclusions, though.
It never was established in the first fire.
That's right.
Now, let me introduce, I'm just going to allude to some things about insurance companies. They pay people $8 an hour to tell you no.
Yeah. Yeah. They don't ever want to pay. They just want you to send the money in.
They want you to pay the premium, and if something happens, there's a reason they shouldn't pay.
Right. Yeah. That's it written in there somewhere.
Do most people who own a home have insurance on their home?
Yeah.
Do most people that have a car have insurance on their car?
Yeah.
Do you realize how complicated it is between those two, especially if they're not covered by the same company?
Right.
Who's going to pay what?
The fingers are pointing in all directions. Yeah. That's pretty complicated.
Well, you do want the insurance company to pay, right?
Yeah.
Well, then you have to be very careful what you say about these matters.
You mean they would hold what you said against you?
While they're defending the Volt against all comers and assuring everyone that the previous accusation about the Volt has been proven to be not so.
Right,
Which it
right.
was never proven. By the way, the first fire, they have never determined the cause of the fire.
Oh, really?
They have
Oh,
not.
okay.
The fire marshal said he didn't believe it was the Volt, but he couldn't say that professionally. But he could say it for his friend who was also on the fire department, in case there was an insurance
Just in case there was
question.
an insurance question. That's right. Oy vey.
While all this is going on, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration
Yes, our friends
did a
in
side
Washington.
pole crash test on a Volt,
Yes.
which it got a good score on, by the way,
Mm-hmm.
and drug it out in the parking lot behind the NHTSA testing facility, where about a week later it burst into flames and burned down the car next to it.
I saw that. But we know it wasn't the Volt.
How many times do 7 billion people go around the planet?
Well, what, 104?
106.
106, there you go.
Let's put this in perspective. Don't deny reality. Don't try to avoid it, spin it, and deflect it. You have to look at things as they are, no matter what your position is or whose ox got gored. You have to have the ability to detach yourselves and look at it objectively, because it could be something solvable.
Yeah, dogma does
like
not have
the
a place.
BMS. That's
Right.
my dogma.
Yeah, you're right, right.
Which is what they're going to find every time. This happens while charging. Well, the one with the NHTSA couldn't have been
I don't
charging.
know what that was. Yeah.
You have to be able to look at it objectively. And so, whatever your advocacy, drop all that and examine the facts as dispassionately as possible. In contact, now, we need to do something about electric cars and their fire hazard. What? Even the NHTSA doesn't say this.
Right.
Reportable, that means something that a fire department would fill out a form for.
Yeah.
Automobile fires are at the rate of 785 per day in the United
Yeah.
States.
No, there's a lot of car fires. Yeah.
And that's only fires that are reported to a fire agency who responds and subsequently files a piece of paper.
Yeah, they can track that. Yep. So there's more than that.
Right. What the automobile fires that there's no fire department involved can't get into this statistic.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, they need a paper trail. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
they don't go around surveying people.
Yeah, knocking on your door.
The
Your car caught on
statistics
fire
are-
recently?
Yeah, have you had any car fires? No, this is from data collected from fire departments. Vehicle fires, 785 per day. Do you know how many of them are electric cars?
It's
About
gotta
maybe
be-
3 per year.
Yeah.
Cars carry gasoline, it's flammable. That's what makes them go. We're
Right.
replacing them with batteries, and they have energy in them and they make them go. Get a life. It's going to happen. What we're interested in is what's the
What-
actual failure
Yeah,
metric.
yeah. Why?
So maybe we could put a different circuit or a different,
Yeah.
watchdog device or something in there.
Yeah.
I
Right.
don't care about the insurance company.
Right. Yeah. Which one? We don't want it to happen.
And so that's my soliloquy on the Volt. Honesty in presenting your product and investigating fires and why that's important. Most of the people that watch us do not believe I know everything about electric cars or that I'm right all the time. And they believe I would probably tell them if I was wrong.
Yeah.
Because I don't mind doing that. And similarly, in order to acculturate a population of over 200 million licensed drivers in this country,
In the United States, yeah.
and a billion worldwide, a half a billion worldwide,
Right.
no, a billion,
Billion worldwide. Yeah.
a billion worldwide, something that's viscerally that part of their life, they are going to have to believe you because they put down as much money as they've got in their house in a lot of cases.
Right. Yeah. So cars are very expensive. Yeah.
To have a device that empowers them in their daily life in a way that's not really replaceable.
Yeah.
And they have to believe you. That's why I believe our viewers, many of which build electric cars, are involved in the technology, but also are the low-hanging fruit that are buying
Right. Buying them. from
bad
manufacturers.
examples of early examples and too expensive examples of electric cars are the apostlehood that goes forth into the population and demonstrates this not by spin doctoring it and not by public relations or television advertising, but by giving their neighbor a ride to the beer
Right,
store.
By doing it. Yeah. Living it.
Right.
Yeah.
Taking it to a few car shows, showing it to their neighbors, talking about it at their church and Rotary Club and so forth. And gradually, people will make up their own mind for themselves from the available information, knowing that they will not get an honest answer from General Motors.
Right. Right.
That's the world we live in. So be honest and go forth and do this. But it doesn't help anything when you gloss over the shortcomings.
Yeah. It's early in the game. There's going to
It's
be
early
some.
in the game.
There's going to be some problems.
some shortcomings.
Yeah, there are.
On balance, I like driving the cars. I'm confident you will too. And our viewers and the people that are building their own, converting their own, and buying the early cars are the ones who are going to influence public opinion
Right.
on this.
Right. They're the doers.
If
yeah.
the OEMs don't get this, and the A123s of the world in their quest for the the OEM that will take them into bankruptcy behind Interdell don't understand this, I'm okay with that. There's going to be
some other guys.
some people that drop out along the way,
yep.
having bilked investors of hundreds of millions of dollars. That's
Government
not a
loans,
problem.
Investors, okay.
And government money.
That's right, yeah. That happens all the time.
Yeah, not all.
Solyndra.
See, and it's
all
kind
over.
of, you don't have to really be faster than the cheetah. You have to
just
be
have to
faster than the slowest human running away from the cheetah. And we got some slow guys running companies like Interdell and A123 and so on. So we're going to be out ahead of them.
Yeah, we're safe.
And we'll be safe. You don't have to be faster than the cheetah, just faster than the slowest guy in the village. That's how you survive. And so wake up the people that are doing these conversions, building these cars, university build teams, small conversion shops. That is the market, guys. Get over it.
Yeah, it is.
And more importantly, they are the people that will influence the market in the future, and it's not going to happen by a television ad and Gosen saying, verily, here's your electric car.
Right.
It doesn't work that way.
No.
It would be great if it did, if you could just spend $5.6 billion and light a votive candle down at a church and the world change, but it doesn't.
No, not on this.
And it kind of changes by the grassroots, and more so as time goes on, because the message in the media is automatically suspect. It's suspected of being manipulated and of being manipulative.
Yeah, and it is, and that's out there.
And we
that's
have
true.
too many instances of that. If you want to call that a conspiracy, there's plenty of it.
Yeah, that might be.
It's a conspiracy to bend the message about the fire on the Volt, about Volt sales, about the Leaf, about the electric car, and about everything else. Now, our viewers have direct experience with electric cars, the good and the bad.
Right.
And they can go show their neighbor, their mechanic, their friend, their wife, their daughter, and anybody else that'll listen what reality is like. And that is much more valid
Right. That's more powerful. Yeah.
and
absolutely.
more powerful than what you're going to get with the spin doctors and talking heads on the television show. So go forth and do that. This week, guess what we did?
We did some fun stuff this week. We did some fun stuff.
I've never let a car go before.
I know. I was watching you last night. You were confused. You didn't know
Yeah.
what to do.
See, normally when we finish a car, I get to keep it. This one was for somebody else, and they came to receive it.
Got it.
Let's take a look.
All right.
Netgain Controls introduces the new WarpDrive Industrial controller. The Industrial is designed to handle a maximum of 1400 amps and up to a 360 volt nominal battery pack. The unit's rugged design looks and works great in the automotive environment while protecting it from the elements. In addition to higher continuous currents than the classic WarpDrive controller, the Industrial comes with several major enhancements. Liquid cooling is available and uses leak-free and rugged AN fittings. The Industrial controller has complete isolation on both throttle channels, giving the highest possible immunity from situations that might affect the electrical throttle input. High voltage connections are fully protected underneath the sealed cover. Voltage leaks between vehicle chassis and a battery pack are detected, alerting the user to potential safety problems. Controller settings can be completely customized using the Netgain Controls interface module, which can also log data to an onboard SD card. The controller weighs in at 25 pounds. Visit www.ngcontrols.com to order your WarpDrive Industrial controller now.
We're here with the AC Cobra replica, and Brian Anderson has come to take delivery of the car. We sort of insisted he go drive it first. And Brian, you take him down to the airport?
We did. We went down to the airport and ran it pretty good on the freeway and took it up and down where everybody that has seen the show, where we do all our testing right out there in front of the ramp. It's a little darker though.
Well, we're running out of daylight.
I know.
It's a little unusual on the airport driving around them jets out there in the dark.
Well, those jets think it's kind of unusual to be landing and seeing these little Cobras starting around.
Obstacle course.
What was your take? What's your initial reaction?
It's awesome. Absolutely awesome. You guys did wonderful.
Good.
Really. Ferris?
Thank you. Thank you.
Did we capture the Cobra mystique. That's what I've been worried about from the beginning.
No, you guys did better than what could be expected. I mean, you drop it into first gear, and I mean, it lights the tires up and snaps your head back into the seat. I'm sure something that nobody would have, initially thought was going to happen with an electric car. But no, it snaps you back in there. I mean, it goes. I mean, performance jumps right up on the highway. Cruising right along with performance is not an issue with this. This car has plenty of performance.
Well, depends on how you drive it, but I think you'll be well over 100 miles on the range, and so I think we've met the specifications, but it's kind of always shooting in the dark. The sound of the motor and the transmission and that, it makes a big growl to me. It sounds like something Cobra-ish.
Yeah, there's some noise, there's some sound.
And I'd
It's
commented
not
on that. I did comment on that. I was anticipating it like the Porsche. There's nothing, and in this one here, you can definitely hear the motor running up there.
Well, you have a sensation of power, but you can still talk over it.
Yes.
So,
No, like I said, it's. I am more than pleased. It is phenomenal.
and you say you guys are going to take off with you're starting 2 more immediately.
Yeah, we're already in production. We're doing the carbon fiber body to get the weight down on the fiberglass, and we've already got the first round tube frame already built, which should be, I'm guessing until it's completely done, probably roughly 200 pounds lighter than what this one here is. So just between the carbon fiber body and the round tube frame, I think we'll be looking at 350, 400 pounds off of what we've got right here. And then we're already working on aluminum door hinges and aluminum bumper brackets. So again, I'm shooting to take another 400 or 500 pounds off of what you guys started with right here.
If you can get this car down between 2,500 and 2,600 pounds with that drivetrain and battery pack in it, you'll hurt somebody.
And get more range.
And get a lot more range.
You get more range and more performance.
Like I said, I've got a whole list of ideas that we're planning on implementing to get the weight down on the car, so I don't see that being a problem at all.
So let's go over some of what we found at Sling Blade this week, Brian, and there's some kind of interesting issues and some opportunities here. We're going to put up our first gear run so you all can see it and see the graph that we're waving around here. First gear doesn't last very long in this car. No, it's quick. Now the dyno, and I had a question about this today from Ryan Baum. We're not simulating a drive or anything. We get in, kind of get the wheels rolling, so we're not spraying rubber.
Yeah, which we did.
Yeah. We had a rooster tail of rubber in first gear coming off the back of the dyno thing a couple of times. We get it stable and rolling and his meter reading, and then Brian steps on the accelerator. We're really not interested in anything until then.
Right.
100% throttle.
That's when it starts.
And we do that until it gets up to an RPM where we think we're about to break something.
Right.
About 5,000 RPM, and he takes his foot off the pedal.
Right.
All I'm trying to graph is what happens while the pedal's to the metal.
Exactly.
And in first gear, that doesn't take very long. We got to 5,300 RPM and 51.64 miles per hour with amazing rapidity, 3 or 4 seconds.
Is that what it was? Okay.
Yeah. And what happened during that was we had a peak of 1,177 amperes for 263.6 kilowatts. Now that's about 300 electric horsepower. Mm-hmm. We hit 179 horsepower at the peak. It's brake horsepower at the wheels. Mm-hmm. That's what the dyno's measuring. And that's 310 foot-pounds of torque at about 3,300 RPM. Our battery pack sagged to 178.9 volts, about a 20% sag. And our peak efficiency, that is comparing the electric horsepower we're putting in, amps times the volts, divided by 746, to the horsepower measured at the tire surface, okay, is 83.68% efficient.
That's pretty
Wow,
good.
that's good.
Yeah.
pretty
So
good.
that's first gear. Second gear, I'll put that up on the thing. We're going to put up the video where they can see the dials and the graph. Second gear does a little better. We hit 60 miles per hour in 4.5 seconds on the dyno.
Yeah.
Now you took it out on the real tarmac, and
Yeah.
what happened, Brian?
From a standing stop, and the best way to do this was just all second gear, not taking off in first. Taking off in first gear, all you do is smoke the tires anyway. It's just, you can't.
It's
you almost
pretty,
can't-
but it's useless.
Yeah, right. So taking off just in second gear, you don't have to shift to third because we're in our power band. I did get on my second run yesterday, I did get a 5.338.
That's pretty
0
quick.
to 60 time. Yeah.
Wow.
But you were unable to duplicate that.
I couldn't duplicate it again. The best that I could do today, it was a little windier today and it was a headwind, was 5.78.
5.78. So is the headwind both directions?
No, but I only wanted to go in the direction where I had to run off.
Oh, that's right. Okay, so we are sub 6 seconds any way you count.
Any way you look at it, I mean, our average time was probably if I average always up and threw out the highest and the lowest, a 6 second was probably 5.8 seconds in a 0 to 60.
So we told Paul Lynn we'd be between 6 and 8 seconds. We missed.
We did.
Yeah.
But we're under 6.
That's right, but we're under 6.
I can't help but giggle. I don't mind missing that way. Second gear, we peaked 434 foot-pounds of torque at about 2,000 RPM, 187.6 horsepower at about, I'm going to call it 2,500. We sagged 24.3% from our 225 volts nominal down to 170.3. Not real efficient. 77.9% was the best efficiency we got. But that was our peak, 1,283 amps
Okay.
as far as current. Now it's 218 kilowatts. And that's second gear, Brian.
Okay.
Third gear is always my favorite. Get a little longer run, and you really eat up a battery pack with this.
Right, yeah.
And we did. 449 foot-pounds of torque. Again, we're at about 2,000, 2,100 RPM. We hit 182 horsepower. Again, about 2,500 RPM. And we sagged to 168.6 volts. That's 25.06%. Doing 1,239 amps and 209 kilowatts. We hit 90 mile an hour in third gears at 89. We did 60 mile per hour in 3.9 seconds in third gear.
Okay.
77.84% efficiency. Fourth gear, all hell broke loose. And I'll tell you why. We should have rested the car a little bit after third gear. Third's a long run, fourth is even longer. It's 25 seconds on the dyno. We overtempt the controller, is what happened.
Is that what happened? Yeah, you could feel it.
And we still did pretty good. We hit 122 mile an hour on fourth. We had 130 in third on one of the third gear runs.
We didn't test that.
I was going to say, man, 50 is going to be way out
we didn't
there.
do fifth gear on the dyno. We did 300 mile an hour or something. I wouldn't be in the room with the tires spinning at that speed.
No, but that's what we were worried about too, is just exceeding the rating of these tires.
Right.
397.74 foot-pounds, again down around 1,900. 172 volts is our sag. We did 167 horsepower. And that was after an interesting thing happened. On this graph, you can see on the screen, I actually plotted the temperature of the IGBTs, which Brian's interface module reports, and was never a problem in the first 3 years, or out driving on the freeway for extended periods. I've watched this. Our cooling system is working very well. But we did this hard third gear run, 10-second break, while I reset the camera, and then we went to fourth, and we overheated it. And by that, these IGBTs are rated for 1400 amps at 100 degrees centigrade or less. And so he's got to guard that temperature area well, we hit 131 degrees Fahrenheit or 55
that's
C
what we're
at
talking about.
2200 RPM over here on the left side of the graph. And if you notice the jaggies and everything after that, that's it actually going into a self-protect mode and limiting the current. So you don't blow up the IGBTs, which is a good thing.
They're expensive.
They're expensive.
Yeah, they're expensive.
Controllers are expensive. You want it to do this magically. We did hit 80% efficiency. Eventually got to 174 degrees Fahrenheit. But our first level, I talked to Ryan today, of current control comes in at 131, and we were hardly started in the run. You can see in the amp graph, and if you juxtapose that with the RGB temperature 131 that I've got marked there, exactly what happened. There's a notch in the graph, and you can actually see later on kind of a divot at about, I would call it 3,500 RPM in our torque or horsepower, our current. All in here, I believe that's where the back EMF on the motor caused our current to fall below the current protect limits.
Okay.
And so then everything kind of
Everything got
smooths
better
out from
again.
there on out.
Yeah.
Because we're below the current level that it would limit it to.
Right. If it was
And,
hot,
and
yeah.
so you can see from about 2,000 RPM to 3,500 RPM, we're in thermal limit
Okay.
on this controller. And
it
so,
worked.
but 397.74 foot-pounds. So that's our performance. There was a lot we didn't know going into this, Brian. I can throw out some suggestions here that would just be interesting variants. When we put the pedal to the metal, the voltage comes under 200 volts. With those Hellwig brushes now, you could do a Warp 11 at those voltages in this car and probably get another 8 or 9% torque instead of the 11 HV.
Really?
You could. The other thing was we did a coast down test, and we'll give you a book with all that data in it to go over. But we've got a lot of drivetrain resistance in this car. I've got a honking big TK 600 transmission. That's good for 600 foot-pounds. We're doing 4 something.
Mm-hmm.
I went back and forth between that TKO 600 and the T45, and in fact talked to you about it at the time.
Right,
And you said they were both good transmissions.
Yeah, they
so,
are. We were
and
just being cautious on the torque.
I didn't want it to come apart on me in the car while we're trying to do everything else. If I was going to revisit that, I would assume that the T45 is a little lighter, a little less drivetrain friction and resistance, and might roll a little freer.
Brian and I were talking about that coming back from the airport, and I'm even thinking about the world-class T5 5-speed Ford transmission, which is what they use behind the V8 Mustangs. Lighter transmission. I think that's got a possibility as well.
We tried to put a third member in there at the behest of somebody to save 60 pounds, which saved us 7.5, and turned out to be a total fiasco. But this is mostly us mucking around in things that we don't understand and don't have any experience with, where you've got a lot.
Right.
But if I was spending the money on this car, I'd be looking at one of those Mark Williams aluminum racing things with the, racing aluminum hubs out
I'm already
there.
looking at a different rear end. Maybe not the one you're talking about, but I'm already looking at a couple of different rear ends, something that is going to be a lighter rear end. Again, I don't think we need the overkill on some of the things that we've got in the car right now.
Well, I kind of build the overkill and then start taking things away.
Exactly, that's what we did.
And you want to leave a little margin there always, but I think there's a lot of room there for weight savings and mostly to get that rolling resistance down.
Right.
Now, you can see the difference in these tires. You all like the fat tires, and Brian Noto even likes the way it sits better with your tires on it. But it's a big difference.
Well, yeah,
with
obviously
those
it's killing you on your
versus-
range, so.
And so it's, what do you want your car to do?
Right.
That's the
And I had the
same
big,
thing with the side pipes. Bolt them back on there if you want them.
well,
They're
yeah,
not going to do anything.
no, Paul wants them on there, so we're gonna make new brackets and we're
There you
gonna,
go, put them on.
we're gonna chrome them up and put them on there. when we're-
But the other thing that shocked me on that mileage was we put the hood on and got a huge gain on the aerodynamics on this car, even at relatively low speeds.
Yeah,
And
Brian
the
and I
only
were
thing I
talking-
can account for, I know this is a Cobra thing, but you got so many holes up here. If that was made more aerodynamic or shut off or something,
We were talking about plugging those holes up there. You think that would make a big difference? So we're gonna,
I think you would be astounded. And the little cooler I've got in there doesn't need anything. It's got a fan.
right,
You don't need anything.
right.
So this is strictly your look and your Cobra thing and so forth.
I
But
think
if-
the hard top will make a huge difference too. I know you didn't get a chance to do any testing on that, but I think that the hard top will.
Oh, it'll certainly, because you got this huge windshield, and this is all the little sports cars. We run into this with the Porsches, and it's windshields, they call it a speedster because the windshield's cut down to about here. This huge vacuum area in here is enormous at speed. And you put that hard top in there, and all that slips over. And so I didn't bother to test it because I already knew what the answer was.
Yeah, we don't know what the exact number is,
I
but we
don't
know
what
it's going to
the
help.
number- actually, I could almost pencil that in for you. It'll be huge.
Well, it's going to be cold next week, so I'm going to drive it with the hard top on. So
But I think one of the key elements of this project is if you start with a Cobra and you make it an electric Cobra, we call it the Ela Cobra, Elecobra. What do you leave in and what do you leave out? It's the normal editing process. What parts make it a Cobra,
Right.
and what parts are a new electric vehicle. And that's why you assured us that, hey, don't worry about those side pipes. I'll take care of them later. Well, we didn't leave you much to work with.
no,
there,
you
but-
made it a little tricky down there, but we'll.
But I simply wouldn't have them. And that front end, and I've gotten used to looking at it, it is pretty cool, but I would do something.
No, I definitely agree with that, and I talked to Paul about possibly leaving the pipes off, and he said no, he wants them on. So for this, at least for this car here, we're going to put them on.
Okay, he's the one with the checkbook. If he wants pipes, he should have pipes.
Exactly.
That is kind of one of our central themes around here is don't take a junk car and make it electric. Wind up with a car you want.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a central issue because it's gonna be a little bit more than going down to the used car lot and picking up a used Chevy.
Yeah.
And so if you're gonna put that kind of money in it, you need the cool car you want.
Yeah. Get it the way you want it.
And it's kind of like wine. I can't tell you what to want.
That's true.
So if he says he wants it, he wants it. That's good enough. That's the whole story. But I think we've got that. So I'm just offering some thoughts of things that strike me going along that could be improved here. But the biggest thing when you redo that chassis and that carbon fiber body, if you get 400 pounds off this, you're not going to believe it.
Yeah. I should be taking 200 to 250 off of just the body alone by going to the carbon fiber. So, like I said,
One thing we're looking at too, now I know they don't look quite as real, but polycarbonates are now approved by the Department of Transportation for automobile glass and windshields. And they weigh a third.
right?
And we know from the aviation end, you can get some polishes for this stuff that whatever scratches go in them come right back out. That's how you do
Yeah.
a Learjet.
Right.
And I can show you how to polish them where they look better than glass and are clearer. And so that's something we're going to look at on all the cars because that's a Department of Transportation regulation change that happened this year that you can now use polycarbonates all auto glass and now all windshields.
Yeah. Well, I know a lot of the guys, over the years when I've been out racing, a lot of the guys have been running the poly windshields because obviously on the racetrack, who cares? And
Right.
and
Take
the,
that to the street now.
Yeah, you can put it on a street car and be legal.
that's one of them things. We're going to start shaving a little here and a little there, and that may be just one more place.
So I think
We
it's
put
great.
all LED bulbs in and LED headlights. I understand you've already found some better headlights,
Well, I'm not going to say better, some different. How about different?
but stay on top of that. It's a cumulative thing. You start at the back of the car and you go to the front of the car. If you save 6 ounces and 6 watts, put them in your pocket and put them with the next 6 ounces and the next
Yep.
6 watts. And it's a relentless quest, but at the end of it, you got 300 watts and 300 pounds. And that's how you find them. There's no massive chunk of weight in the car you can get by without. The massive chunk of the weight is the batteries, and you need them.
Well, again, I've still got
so
some
it's,
massive ones that I can play with before we even get into the small
Yeah, well, if you
ones.
get the carbon fiber stuff, yeah, that's going to be a big one.
The
And the frame.
Oh, yeah. So I know Paul was concerned about all the terminals. I bring everything to these bus bars in the front, and there's a couple of things which you'll grow to appreciate if you don't now. We had to change the motor on this car. We did that in a day. Now, a lot of these guys building electric cars, they got one thing piled up on top of another thing on top of another thing. Everything we do is and this is kind of a good exercise because a lot of times we're filming it, we do it, then take it back off, then film doing it, then take it back off, then put it on again. By the third time, we know what's involved putting that on. So we don't do a lot of things that you can't undo later. And those terminal bars are where you can get at everything. They're big and clunky. They're unnecessary. They're quite expensive, actually. But they get my voltages and everything where it's nothing to add something. It's easy to trace. But it's also easy to reach over and grab hold of them if you're a 9-year-old at a car show. And so Paul wanted a shroud built over that, and we did out of fiberboard, and we covered that with carbon fiber. But you can do something like that almost from scratch. You've got the fiberglass skills. Fiberglass, carbon fiberglass.
I can find somebody that can do fiberglass.
Yeah.
Right.
You can find some guy out there in Granby.
Yeah, see, a lot of the things we struggle with, you're not going to have a problem
I don't have
with.
any problem with that.
And so
No, it came out nice. It finished off nicely. A little high voltage sticker on there and everything.
well, you want to label them. It's kind of important. We've gone to using orange cabling for the high voltage stuff. That's actually almost a hazmat thing. They train the police and the fire department to recognize that as high voltage, orange cabling.
Right.
We kind of cheat and use yellow sometimes.
Yellow sometimes, yeah.
But we don't use the black and red stuff because they'll think it's 12 volt.
Right.
Oh, I
And,
understand. I see.
The safety issues, of course, you can turn off the key. That kills the controller just about every time. If it didn't, there is a safety switch right here. That disconnects the pack, and when you're working around the batteries, you want to turn that off. If you notice right now, there's a little fan where that's from the DC to DC converter, and it runs all the time. And it'll run a few amp hours out of this car every day. And if you just leave it set for weeks, it'll run the batteries down. So you don't want to do that. The solution is, you turn the maintenance switch
Turn the maintenance
and
switch
that
off.
disconnects everything.
I gotcha.
And
So that is normal to hear that little buzz all the time.
Yeah, and it is slightly annoying, but we have a lot of loads in this car: the Xantrax, the J1772 board, the fuel gauge, the speedometer, the controller, that all have a 12 volts to them all the time, and we need that. And when we went through that aux battery thing, we tried to work around all that, and it just doesn't work. You have to have it to those things.
Yeah, we just had, we had a mess.
And so we have a need for an ongoing 12 volts. If you do set the master switch off, understand you've lost your amp hours on the Xantrax and on your
okay.
fuel gauge. Resetting the Xantrex is very simple. Charge the car and press the left and right arrows and you're resynced. And that's all there is to it.
Okay, well, I'm glad you said something. I didn't even think about that on
In the what? Which gauge are we in? Oh yeah, that's 35.0 amp hours. That's how much you use.
That's how much we use.
Now you have 180.
Right.
And I've kind of got it set where at 15% or 150 amp hours, you'll go into limp mode.
Okay.
And that's to save your battery pack. The 80% discharge, which in this case would be 160, 150 something, is as far as you want to take these batteries down ever.
Which on your fuel gauge is what, 1/8 of a tank?
The fuel gauge we've struggled with on the Jiva. You may get to play with that a little bit yourself. Use the amp hour meter.
Yeah, that's what I was telling them we were driving. Yeah.
Oh, there is one other little thing that's kind of cool. You want to be sure and tell Paul. There is a switch right here that is lit.
Okay.
If you press that switch, it will stay detent. It turns your RPM, your tachometer, into an amp meter that shows each digit is hundreds of amps.
Oh, really?
And you can see as you step on the pedal that needle going up. And the reason we do that is it's not a digital display, it's jumping around. There's some trend information in there. You can kind of see when you're driving what's taking less current, what's taking more.
And then just push it again, and then it turns
Push
your
it
tach
again,
back
you
on.
get RPM back.
Yep, back to attack. Yep.
Okay.
That's that. Of course, your final mechanical fusing is pop the clutch, blow the motor, get another one. Don't let this car take in. There is a failure mode of controllers that is basically puts the full battery to the motor. It fails full on. You almost never hear about it. It's a very rare failure, but be aware that it does happen with series DC motors. And series DC motor, you've got your ignition switch should disable the controller. If it doesn't, your maintenance switch will. And if that doesn't do, your last resort is push the clutch in, blow the motor. They'll make you another one.
Yeah. Okay. At some point, what, $6,000 or what? What is it?
Oh no, that motor's $3,750, I think.
No. I mean RPM. Where's it gonna? What's
He's run that motor. He claims up to $9,000.
$9? Okay. All right.
But you don't want this car going $9,000 in third gear. You'll be doing the speed of sound as you go through the wall.
The brick wall. It's just like having the throttle stuck wide open on
Right.
a gas car when you're on first.
Yeah,
off,
these
turn
are
off
not
the ignition.
normal
Second one,
things.
put
I'm
the clutch
just
in.
going through what you have
Let it
available
blow.
to you in the cockpit.
Okay. Okay. I understand.
Again, we don't use the clutch taking off or stopping. I don't use the clutch shifting. But you have to kind of take your time. You put it in the notch and you hear the synchros spin up, take your foot off the gas, and it just drops in. But at about a quarter-second delay. But I love this transmission. I shift it all up and down through the gears. I never touched the clutch at all.
Yeah, well, I know in the Porsche.
But I had trucks
wasn't
that didn't
shifting,
have
but
clutches when I was a kid. That's what you had to do.
That's a beefy transmission. There's no doubt about it.
Well, we started at the top. If I was to do it again, probably a lighter transmission with less friction and a lighter rear end with less friction. And about what you're going to get, what did we say, 490 foot-pounds is about the top. And
Well, that'll get it done.
I think you've got more transmission and rear end there than you quite need, but that was not entirely an accident. And you can go from there. But
No, again-
lightly is goodly. And
It's the first one. We had to start someplace. I mean, now we can start tweaking it a little bit.
so we called in March, I guess. How do I put batteries in this and make an electric car? You see, there's an awful lot of trade-offs involved.
Yes.
And you're just trading one thing against another.
28.
Maybe.
Well, I don't know. I was jumping on it pretty good out there. You've been jumping on it pretty good, and I mean, it was.
I would caution you on missing gear shifts and so forth. You do not want to run that motor with full pedal and no load.
No load, right.
It will turn into a Claymore mine at some point. And that's the danger with some of that is you can overspeed him. But he said he's had this up to 9,000. We've hardly gone 5,000.
Just on the dyno, really. I don't know, what you had, maybe 4,000?
You know, I wasn't paying attention when I was out there at the
Your
airport.
torque band's
but
down at 2,000 to 3,000
Yeah, the torque-
anyway.
the torque
so-
is down in the-
but missed gears and that sort of thing it could be an
I
issue.
don't even think we were at $3,000 on the highway.
No, no.
And, you know, obviously cruising along at 70 miles an hour at, what, 2,500, 2,800, I think, is probably about where we were.
Right.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Normally, when we finish a car, we get to keep it. This is one of the first ones. where-
Sorry, it's my turn to play with it now. You got.
I have to
Just
tell
when I
you,
was getting used to it.
I had told them 3 months, and we started in April. That would have been June or July, and we've kind of gone a little over. But we ran into some interesting problems with it, and we've worked them off, and I think you should have a very interesting automobile.
Now I can't wait to get it painted and get it looking all nice and pretty, and then start playing with it.
See, we always get them completely done first. That was your and Paul's concept to give me a beat up one so I didn't get smudge marks on it.
Again, I know you didn't take advantage of it, but I mean, in my mind, I thought you were going to pull the body off and set it out of the way and do all of your stuff. And so obviously I didn't want a painted body that you were yanking on and off.
You know, we probably should have done that. Here's why I don't do that. We tend to build things in and you put the body back on and now it don't fit.
No,
Because
I
you
understand.
forgot about that curve there on that.
I understand,
there
but
part of the body.
I mean, that's what Paul asked for, was a completely finished car before I brought it down here to you. And this was my decision. I thought it
okay.
would be better that you weren't going to mess up the paint job. You were going to be taking the body on and off. So just, you know, again, a little bit of a learning curve on the first one on what's the best way to do it.
Well, we've it's okay. We're not really in the production cycle here. I think we have done a prototype that can be manufactured for money. And in fact, you can improve on that. You were talking about some ideas about the batteries and so forth. And no invented here thing there. Half of the task is placing the batteries, and Matt Hauber used to beat me on that, and he arrived not knowing anything, but he was just good at geometrically squeezing in batteries and working it out. And it's
Right.
you kind of need to be able to get to them, and you can't the way I've got this. So your 2-box idea is a great thing because it'd be
But
nice
that
to
may
get
not
to 'em.
that may not be feasible. Again, it's just an idea, right?
try it out,
We're going to have to play with it a little bit on this new frame because I've got to modify some stuff on the frame to be able to move the batteries around. So again, I'm sure we'll change it 14 times.
It took us half a year to place the batteries and 5 weeks to do the car.
Yeah, really.
After we had the
Once the
batteries.
batteries were in, it really goes pretty
Yeah, it did. Yeah, you guys went real fast.
Really went really fast. And then, you know, we tested it and did things, but yeah, batteries are the big one.
Paul wanted me to make sure you get the gas pump charger, which we've got working. It does not light the blue LED ring. It works fine. And it's something between, ironically, David Kurzel's 2 boards. The board he did for the J1772 EVSE does not support the proximity switch, but the board that's in there does. So if you'll plug this in, we'll check this right now. If you'll plug it into the that one, it lights the LED.
But on this one, it doesn't.
On that one, it doesn't. And the guy made both ends, same guy. So I'll talk to him and see if I can get you another board or
As
something.
long as it charges.
But it charges great. And this the charger we got, an Elcon, has man, it's hit the number every time.
Yeah, it's great charging.
To the point where we've got the Xantrex tuned up where it recognizes when it hits full charge and resets itself pretty much.
And what is charge time? Fully drained, or not fully, but
I would say you'll charge, it's charging about 21 or 22 amp hours an hour. and you have a 180 amp hour pack. Now, how far did you take it down? That's the question.
Yeah, okay.
So-
okay. So,
So right now, this will take
Eight and a half
couple
hours is the
Full.
most it can charge.
okay.
And what we just did will
If
be.
you didn't have anything.
An hour and a half. or
And
what we
I
just-
hand zeroed these cells. I don't think you can hurt them running them out, but it would still decrease the capacity of the cells in life if you go past 80% discharge.
Okay.
And
Well,
so-
again, you've got the limp mode already figured into that,
already
so
got
I mean,
that in there.
we're not going to go,
No.
we're not going to do that anyway, but I understand.
Well, you need to test it and see what kind of ranges you really get, and then compare that to
No,
your
I will. I mean,
carbon
but-
fiber and
I'm ready to
moly
tear it
and-
apart and start painting it, but I'm going to be a little selfish and I'm not going to do that. And we're going to put the hard top on it, and before weather gets bad, I plan on taking it next week and trying to drive it as much as I possibly can. And
What's the distance to the big city where you're at?
well, you're looking at probably 45 miles from me to Joplin.
Oh, you
So
can do
that's-
that round trip. It'll do it.
Yeah.
So there's 90 miles if I don't play around too terribly
If you
long.
go 80 or 90 mile an hour, you need to plug in somewhere, but 60 or 70, it'll make it.
Rollins or the university.
Yeah.
Those kids that built so many electric cars, they'd be amazing seeing this thing.
You guys ever had any experience with them out there?
We have some viewers at Raleigh and also University of Missouri at Columbia, and there's a lot of university build teams that follow us, Mike. And I'm kind of working with one here in Cape to get that off the ground. But yeah, a lot of the universities are doing.
I think
EV
all of them are
builds.
doing electric stuff now, aren't they? It seems like
They're
they're.
really, it's very
You know the
popular.
GT40?
Very popular.
This sucker, hydraulic it up that way, just like a GT40. Lift the bonnet from the back, battery set right there, and pull around.
Good.
What to leave in, what to leave out. That's,
Exactly.
that's
Whatever
what we're
somebody wants, that's my motto.
Anyway, it's your car now, and
Well, thank you very much,
We
guys. I
are
think it-
available for
again-
questions by email and phone, and we'll be.
Oh, I'm
happy
sure
to
we'll be in touch.
Work off any issues you have, but I'm thinking we've just converted you to an electric conversion shop now, and we've turned you out, baby.
I'm looking forward to it. I love it. Absolutely love it,
I
guys.
think I'm hoping it's a whole new exciting area of business for you, and
I'm already getting phone
Next
calls
time
off
we
of
were-
it. I bet you 20 people I've talked to already just from your show. More, probably a third of them are my past customers, that have V8 Cobras
something else.
that said, man, I've always thought about doing an electric Cobra, which kind of surprised me. I didn't think there was going to be that many of them, but yeah,
That's cool.
yeah, I've told you that the custom hot rod guys, now they give me a little chant about the sound of a V8, but they roll so quickly. I think they've been hanging out waiting for something new.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I've got one of my 34 Ford customers that knows you, that has talked to you, that he really wanted to do an electric 34 also. That one would really be tricky because I think there's less room in that car than any of my models
Is
that
that
I
right?
offer, to be honest with you. That would, I think, would really...
See, I don't know much about a 34. The guy up in St. Louis called me about your.
That's my
34,
customer. Denny, yeah, that's my customer.
And
yeah, yeah, he did.
I gave him kind of the same thing, which, I gave you and Paul, and you didn't pay attention. You just wrote a check. But you can have range, you can have performance, or you can have price. Pick two, because you can't have three. When you
Well-
try to have range and performance, it gets hard. and
Those
it
are the
gets
two Paul
expensive.
picked.
That's the two he picked.
Yeah, he picked the good one. Had to write the check.
That's it.
I can make it go fast with a 20-mile range, and that's a dragster. And a lot of guys are doing that. And I can make it go 200 miles at 35 miles an hour, and that works too. But when you try to get all of it in one sack, it's a little awkward. And we kind of pushed that a little bit on this, but I could kind of see what you were after. Cobra's kind of got a, I don't know a lot about it, but it seems like a tradition of racing muscle car type thing. So
It does. It has a tradition.
Yeah, you can see it with the Speedster. I can see how you can back off a little bit and a cruising
we
car. and-
exceed all the performance specs of the original Speedster, but it was a different era and a different kind of car. It went on a different kind of road. and by the way, southeast Missouri with these rolling hills and little blacktop roads, that's what the Porsche Speedster
Yeah.
was built for.
Yeah.
That's how the highways were in Europe then.
Yeah.
This is a different thing. This is the American gig.
Yeah. This has
it's
gotta have the
actually
muscle.
an English
60s muscle,
concept. AC was an English company that Shelby went to with this, but that's why it's AC Shelby. But you know, I get it, and I think we captured most of it in an electric car.
Well, I
You
don't
can shred
know.
those tires and spray little black pellets out the back, and you can make smoke until we can't see the car with the camera. And
No,
so that's
If you guys missed it, I don't know where you missed it at. I cannot imagine that Paul is not going to be ecstatic over what you guys have got here. I mean, I've
Oh,
talked to him enough that this is what he wants.
we probably want to come out and see it after you get a paint and
Yeah, I'd love to
interior
see it,
on
but
it.
yeah, we'll come out there.
Maybe we'll
Well,
fly out in the helicopter or something and
Absolutely.
film a little bit of it.
fly in there to Monette. That's only from where the airport is maybe 15, 20 minutes from me. I come
Is
down,
that
pick
right?
you up. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I got 60 acres. If you're taking the helicopter, you can just land on my property.
Well, you have to send me your GPS coordinates.
Here, go ahead and land it next to the shop out there.
We'll still have to go to Monet to get,
Get some
jet
fuel.
fuel.
Oh, well, okay.
The
Yeah, Leggett and Platt.
Okay.
That's where their corporate jets fly into. Well, again, guys,
all righty.
I love it.
Well, that was really something.
it is.
That was really something. We've never delivered a vehicle.
Yeah. Well, we have now.
I know we have now.
Complete with a J1772 gas.
I know. Here, take it all.
The,
Once we got going, we're okay.
I made that for him for $3,500. If any of you would like a J1772 gas pump, I'll be happy to make you one for the same price. We ought to do something that raises revenue around
Okay,
here.
we can make gas pumps.
We can make
Little
gas
charging
pumps,
stations.
Charging stations. You know, he was trying to be professional for the cameras. And he is a business operator and is
Yeah.
kind of...
He's been in business a long time. Yeah, Brian.
So he was trying to be cool when I interviewed him. When you were at the airport and he just got out of the car, I should have been there with the camera. The guy didn't come till it was after dark.
Yeah, it
so
was
I
pretty
didn't see
dark
the
before he
point in
got
trying
here.
to do that. What happened?
He pretty much drove it up and down the strip where you guys see us going out in front on the ramp and spun it around, did some burnouts, probably ran more than a quarter mile. He couldn't tell where he was. It's
He's
almost pitch
not
black.
near as shy as we are.
No, and,
He's been in a Cobra before.
yeah, and he was absolutely ecstatic. I mean, it was, he had the EV grin and then some.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, it looked like the Cheshire Cat in Alice in Wonderland.
Excellent, excellent, excellent.
And all the way back, he was beaming.
So the Cobra.
Yeah.
I'm getting where I kind of like cars. But it's kind of like being a stranger in a strange land. We started this adventure, you and I, several years ago, with the statement that this battery is really quite fascinating. I think it would make a car go, Brian, get me a car.
That's right. Let's find a car.
I-
Quick to
I-
eBay.
I didn't even have a strong position on how many wheels or what it looked like, knowing that Brian is kind of a car guy. And he did a lot of the work on the Cobra. We spent 6 months with it, and they've taken it away from us. What's your take on the process and on the result?
Well, you know, I think the Cobra is, it already has a mystique. It has an image. And I think that was our goal in the process. I think the end game was to build an electric Cobra, not an electric car that looked like a Cobra or whatever, but really an electric Cobra. And you know, what I look at our conversions as is a different option for the power plant for the car. A much cleaner one, a greener one, in some cases much more exciting. But it's not so much that it's an electric car, it's an option that's available now for a power plant. And to take a car that has a particular image like that Cobra and to keep within those parameters, I think that we that through our efforts these last 6 months did exceed in some cases what a Cobra is, I believe. We maintain the handling of the Cobra. Obviously, the styling and things are there. You know, we have a tendency not to glom up cars with decals and things like that anyway.
Right.
So the car is kind of transparent to people that is an electric car, but everybody notices that it's quiet, that there's something different about all of our cars. And the process of building that car, sure, we had to make battery boxes, we had to do a lot of one-off things. But in terms of a project, and I think that our viewers appreciate this, and especially our viewers that have built vehicles, that it's just a different process to build an electric car. That, you know, we use that, you know, different parts, and I think that was interesting for the project to be able to use the Netgain 11HV, to use the Netgain controls. I think for our viewers that's interesting. It's also interesting for us. I don't want to build the same car over and over again, you know, or we'd just be going to production.
No, that was the main thing in this for me, was to be able to learn about, demonstrate new component products that the 11HV had been out there for a year. There wasn't a handful of them.
No,
Wayne Alexander used a couple of them. He was raving
he
about them.
He loves them. Yeah.
And really nobody else, and I didn't even know what one was. And when George explained it to me, this is not getting better, George.
Yeah, that's right.
We had to go do a bunch of reading about interpoles and so on and so forth. And finally, George, this is not an 11-inch motor at all.
No, not really.
This has nothing to do with your 11-inch motor.
No.
Well, no, it never did have.
Never did. That's right. Well, thanks.
Oh, well, okay.
Now we got that out of the way.
And then, you know, I kind of alarmed Brian Anderson last night. I said, you know, I mean, there's not very many cars have the 11HV, and to my knowledge, this is the only one that has the Netgain WarpDrive Industrial.
Yes.
Oh, this is a prototype? They're not out there? No, it's a production device.
It's just no one
These guys
put the
are
combination
professionals
together,
and
yeah.
offer them for sale and have sold controllers before. This is their new model, but no, it's not been in a car before.
No one's mated these two products together.
And probably if you order it from him, yours is going to be a little different. I hope so. I gave him a
'Cause we've
list
got
of
some-
about 15 suggestions.
Right.
Which he'll grocery shop and pick the ones he likes and throw out the other ones, and it's the design process.
Yeah,
Sorry.
and even
It's fun. I love it.
that's the fun part, and even the controller and things. I mean, Ryan learned a few things. You know, the controller was out in a car, you know, being run very hard. You know, in this last couple of weeks, we ran the tail off of that Cobra. I mean, we almost burned the tires off of it.
We did burn a motor out of
We
it.
did burn a motor out of it, and we just about burned the tires off it. We found that we had the incorrect parameters for the throttle when we changed the firmware.
That scared me worse than anything.
Yeah, that it defaulted. Yeah.
There is, and I can't impress on you this enough, what the press rightfully calls a one-off car. In this case, they've already announced and ordered parts for two others.
Two more,
They're
yeah.
starting two more,
Starting two
and
more.
going to carbon fiber in a different
And
frame.
using a tube
with
frame.
the battery boxes more integrated. These guys, I would rather they drive the car a little bit before they make all these decisions, but they're jumping out there. You're going to be able to order one of these Cobras whenever you want.
Whenever you want, I think so. Yeah.
But
That's what we like to see.
we were that close to missing a trick. That
Yeah.
was 20% of the power of the vehicle
Yeah, it made a big difference.
over a throttle
Just the
setting
setting, yeah, and who knew that went to the
In-
default?
in a little menu.
Yeah, yeah. When we upgraded the firmware, it defaulted right to the
Yes.
to the number one throttle.
Yes.
Yeah.
We have had things. There's some indication in here in fourth gear. Now this is not a realistic driving scenario anyway, but it's still interesting.
It's still
to me.
interesting, yeah, that it happened. Yeah.
If you start in fourth gear and stomp the pedal and hold it for 30 seconds until you're going 132 miles an hour, You can try this at home.
Yeah, that's right. Try it with a dyno.
You'll go into a thermal limit
Yeah, if you've been doing this for
at
20
about 2,200 RPM.
Yeah.
You're going to go into a thermal limit that, unless you're on a dyno and have this data, which you get off a video camera by cycling every third frame
right.
with your finger and writing these numbers down, and then graphing them in Excel, it will become immediately apparent to you
That's right. If you can stay awake.
that you're in a thermal limitation on the controller.
Yeah.
And Ryan is, I've given him all that data and the video.
And the video, yeah.
And he's going through that now to see if the IGBT is rated at 100 C, which is 212 Fahrenheit. We plateaued at 174. Could he move this 131 up to 150 for example, Fahrenheit, and still maintain a safety margin on his IGBTs and give us more power for the same temperature?
Right. Yeah, who would know until you see it, yeah.
Now, how can he do that until he sees a car driven hard in fourth gear
Right.
from a standing start at maximum current?
Right. There's no way.
That's 3,000 pounds. That's
That's what we do.
that's what we do.
That's what we do, man.
And so, but cool. I mean, it brings up as many questions as it answers. But
Yeah.
But so that's where I'm at on the components. But go ahead. I want to hear your.
Well, I think,
analysis
and
of-
I've, built quite a few cars, and that Cobra was an interesting vehicle. I mean, and it's just like any of the cars that we built. Once the batteries are in the car, things start to move really fast. So don't get discouraged out there when you're doing builds, man. Do the battery boxes first, get the batteries placed, and all of a sudden the car will come together quick. But we had to do a lot of testing, and that gave me an opportunity to drive that car fairly hard. I mean, we did the coast down testing, we did dyno testing twice. We went out there and had some fun one day, just doing burnouts with the line lock and spinning around some NASCAR victory laps. But then bringing the car back to the shop and seeing what happened. I mean, we had a couple of bolts fall out on the dyno, that were locked
Kind
in
of
there pretty
important
good.
bolts.
Yeah, bolted the motor to the transmission. So, it's all that kind of stuff that you just, you think you have it done and you need to go back but that's building a car. That's not just building an electric car. That's building, building a car. So I was really, really pleased with the project. The car is fast. It handles good for the weight. I mean, sometimes these cars are in the low 2,000 pound range, and we're at 3,000 pounds. That car, 3,100.
Yes, we're at 2961 with the Michelin's.
Yeah, so we're
A little over 3,000 with the
with a driver.
with the other tires. The
With the stock tires.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Stingers or whatever. they are.
Stingers.
Yeah, so there's a little more weight on that chassis. It drove very well. Once I got used to the car, I was confident with it. It was you could drive it gingerly for a while, but I think putting the vehicle together was a blast. You guys out there who haven't built an electric car yet and are waiting, don't wait too much longer. It's fun, and you get to go out there and enjoy it. People look at it, get the thumbs up. And one of the things was actually pretty cool was putting Brian in the car and delivering a car actually is a completely different experience. Once he drove it and kind of shook hands and said, yeah, that's a Cobra, and that's from a guy who's been building them for 30 years. I think that we
If
did
there
a
is
good job.
something that feels better than the EV Grin, it's passing it on.
I know, yeah, it's passing it on. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so
If you give somebody else the EV Grin,
yep, yeah, it's a blast. So I think that we
I
did it.
think this guy's toast. He's raving madman. He's talking about carbon fiber bodies, moly tube
tube
frames
chassis.
with the integral battery. They've already ordered parts for 2 more cars.
Yeah.
he's gone berserk on the whole electric car thing, and I think it'll be a whole new line of business for him.
I do too,
He's
yeah.
not afraid of carbon fiber. I've been preaching this, and I can't get anybody to get over it. Carbon fiber is not magic.
No, it's just a different fiber for your.
It's like fiberglass, but
Yeah.
with different cloth.
Yeah.
Some vacuum, you know, you got to get into this vacuum thing.
You got to get the bubbles out, yeah, or it's weak.
And
Yeah.
to keep the strength up, but it is more expensive cloth,
Yeah.
but not 9 times more expensive or something.
No.
The carbon fiber industry, aerospace grade, has done a lot to preserve the mystique.
Oh yeah, right.
But if you want to make carbon fiber strong enough to be like a fiberglass car body, I've said from the beginning, we made those battery boxes. This is just cloth,
Yeah.
and it's
Cloth and
just
resin.
resin.
Yeah, cloth and resin. Yeah.
And Brian's of the same thing. He's like,
Yeah, no big deal.
we can do that.
Yeah, carbon fiber is not a big deal for him. So,
Not a big deal.
and that's moving the technology, or at least the process, and getting those processes into this industry, is having guys like Brian and having us out there at least advocating it, saying, let's do it.
$40,000 carbon fiber body doesn't do me any good.
No, we need
But
an affordable
why
one.
is it 40,000? What parts of carbon fiberdom do I need? Lightweight, strength.
Yeah,
Wait a minute.
that's it.
Why don't we take the $6 cloth
Yeah,
out and put the $20 cloth in? It's 3 times as much
Yeah,
for the
about 3
cloth.
times, yeah.
Same epoxy resin. Okay, we got to master some vacuum and bagging.
yeah,
And what?
that's it. Yeah, I mean that's really it. The
You
mold's
know.
the same. Everything is this. Everything is the same. It's already there.
So really, my $4,000 worth of fiberglass is 6,
Probably.
not 40.
Right, probably, because it really is just the cloth and then having some
A little more
process to
labor,
bag it. Yeah, a
yeah.
little more labor, yeah. Other than that, it's not, the material's not that much more expensive. So, and I'm really, excited that Brian is, kind of taking,
I'm
we've been
excited
talking
that
about it.
Brian's excited.
I am, and that he's taking this the bull by the horns, and that Paul is, the ultimate, founder of that vehicle is as excited, and he hasn't even driven it.
Yeah, I know. They're starting 2 more, and I've only got one of them that's
That's
been in
the
the
scary
car.
part, that he's never driven the car. Brian has.
I knew enough up front to know this was important, but let's not miss a message in here that you've already brought out. I'll just repeat it so nobody misses it. I knew enough. I don't know anything about Cobras. I knew nothing about them going in. Eric Chris had mentioned that they're a cool car.
Yeah.
Because he'd done
Didn't he
a
do a-
wiki about a Factory 5.
Yeah, he did a Cobra, yeah.
Cobra. I saw one at a grocery store one time.
Yeah,
Does
there's
that
a couple of
count?
them around here. Yeah, there's a couple Cobras around here.
And but I knew, cars have kind of their own cult, their own mystique, their own community.
Right, they do.
Sense of community.
Yeah.
And so forth. And I knew from the beginning the problem wasn't making a Cobra go forward with batteries.
Right, yeah, that, we could do that. We knew how to do that.
The
Yes.
entire focus was what would a Cobra that was still a Cobra, but it was electric, look like, sound like, and feel like. And I think I don't think the side pipes even matter.
It's a cosmetic thing, and,
I think there's some cosmetics that,
Yeah.
that are conventional on a
Yeah.
Cobra, but they do not define the Cobra. I think they're going to put the side pipes back on for those that
Yeah,
rage
yeah.
that I removed them. Good news, they're going back.
Yeah,
on, but-
Brian's going to
but I
have an
don't
issue
get it.
putting them on, but they're putting them back.
I don't even really think it's important. There is something about a Cobra, and I finally got it sitting in the seat looking out over the hood. That's the view.
Yeah, that's what it is.
That okay, I'm starting to get this big American muscle in a 2-seat sports car,
Right.
trimmer than a vet, and raw.
Yeah, a lot more aggressive. Yeah.
And so to capture that and have it with an electric drive and batteries, it was a very challenging thing for me mentally and conceptually.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
After that, it's making choices and aiming for the end. And I guess the message I would carry back is it's proven to my satisfaction that you could take any car in the world and be utterly true to what that car is and what that community believes, and still convert it to electric drive. And you haven't really changed it into this magical other thing. Like you
No.
said, you put a new power plant in a car
Right. It's power plant.
as an option. And so you'll have short block Cobras, big block Cobras, and warp drive Cobras.
Right.
now.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. There's
And
there's
they'll
another
all
version.
still be Cobras, and the same with the Porsches, and the same with the there's different ways of skinning a cat, but it's still the same cat.
Right. Well, as Brian remarked they just saw him say, I mean, he said he's had customers call, the guy went with the Ford, with a 33, one of his replicas, Cobra guys, and he was surprised. I wasn't surprised, I'm sure you weren't surprised that his customers, on seeing the videos, wanted to know if they could get an electric Cobra.
He wants a commercial on a TV show. Brian, you haven't driven the
I know,
prototype
that's
yet.
what he told me. I said, just drive the car right now.
Take it one step at a time, man.
Yeah, they're excited. They're excited.
What did you do with the Spider this week?
What we did with the Spider is we had a couple of issues with the Spider. Can I show them the bearings?
Yeah.
Let's,
Show them the debris.
yeah.
Have any parts to show?
Yeah, we have a good one. This is there's the outboard bearing.
Isn't that beautiful?
That's our ceramic bearing.
A $12 bearing you can replace with this $325 masterpiece. That these are all carbon. So zirconium nitride, a ceramic balls. Of course, this doesn't really spin very good now.
No, then that's the one we took out of the right side of the car.
Oh, that was the good one.
That was the good one. This was the one the other night when we were out, you and I were out trying to tell people about electric vehicles and showing them the cars in the Spider, that all of a sudden I had this noise.
That's
Right.
the explosive.
This is the
ceramic
explosive
bearing.
ceramic bearing. As you can see, here's this outer race here that is, half of it is intact. This is the half that was making all the noise.
I can see noise there on the
Can you see it right there? Yeah, no, this.
It's screaming to me now.
Yeah, here's the the cage. Here's the balls; they're in good shape, and the inner race was fine. This outer race though exploded, so I'm making an assumption that it just couldn't take the load.
So
and shattered.
We went back and invested another $12.95 on each side on some metal ones.
I put the old ones back in.
Oh, you pulled the old ones back in there, still rolling.
Yeah, they were great. They were in good shape.
We'll want to do a coast down test on that, see
See?
what difference it made.
Yeah.
And this is the problem we get into, is changing 2 or 3 things at once. We may have improved the car with aluminum wheels and improved the car
With the bearings.
ceramic bearings all at the same time. We've still got the mystery of the Speedster. And
Yeah.
we'll continue to look at that.
But it's very quiet now. It doesn't make grinding noises on the driver's side bearing.
Post Cobra, guess what we ought to do? It's November. It's going to be cold here pretty soon. Let's take a look at our Escalade and let's get back on that baby.
All right, it's about time.
Bryn, it's a happy day.
It is.
I am. I did enjoy the Cobra project, and I'm pleased that's going out. They're already going to start 2 more cars using our design.
That's what I understand. Well, great. I love that idea.
I do too.
You know, more Cobras.
We'll probably suggest a few changes, but I'm anxious to be back on the Escalade.
Yeah.
This is my big car. I'm kind of a big fat guy, and this is easy to get in and out of. I got my air conditioning blowing up through the seat. Got my
slide out.
heated steering wheel, heated windshield washer.
That's right.
Liquid.
Just in case you need a bath.
It's pretty cool. It would be cooler, yeah, if it didn't burn 10 a gallon of gasoline every 10
Every
miles.
10 miles.
And if it was totally silent.
Yeah.
And we're going to make the biggest EV in the game
Okay.
with this one.
All right.
I guess the link volt's almost as big.
Had link volts on one
Before
start.
we get started, it's actually been good to take a break. I've thought through a lot of stuff. We're going to try to use the 6L80E
Our stock
transmission that's in
transmission.
it.
Okay.
I've gotten with some of the tuner guys online, got me a HP tuners thing,
Oh,
so we
yeah.
can talk to this E38 ECU that's in this vehicle, and I think we're going to be okay. Of course, Winston Battery Company has sponsored this. Interesting turn of developments. Yeah, they're building a battery factory in the United States, but I got a document from them this week that they are no longer selling batteries
I saw that you forwarded that
in
to me,
North
yeah.
America at
Yeah.
all. They will not sell them direct, and everything has to go through their exclusive agent, who butchered this so badly on the first run, a Balcon
Oh, okay.
out in Long Beach. So we're very
Alrighty
anxious to see
then.
if Balcon got religion. They almost wouldn't sell you a battery, and if they would, you had to buy their BMS.
Had to buy the BMS, yeah.
And so we'll see how this turns out. But Winston is, I guess, going to cut off all their little distributors, and you have to get it through Balcon.
So they have an exclusive with Balcon.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's an exclusive
Ooh, okay.
arrangement
That'll
in
be
North
interesting.
America. Now, that's what they had originally announced, and then the two companies kind of fell out, and now they're falling back in. I'm not sure what's going on.
Okay. All right.
But Balcon is where you have to go to get their batteries. Before we tear this up, and this is going to go pretty quick, we've actually got most of the conversion done and laying around the shop here.
Yeah, it's
some
just
some
all
parts
over.
of it are
Yeah.
starting to lose parts being cannibalized for other things. But we've never pulled the engine out, and I don't want to yet. Show me what you got in the box.
Well, we have it's a master cylinder is really what I would describe this thing as.
Like a power brake assembly?
Like a power brake assembly, yeah, except that it doesn't have the accumulator on it. So I'm assuming that there's no vacuum
Well,
required.
and therein lies the tale. One of the things that you're going to run into with any mid-size or larger car is your power steering and power brakes. Right here is our big vacuum
Right, our big accumulators right
accumulator.
there. Yeah.
And of course, there's our brake assembly. The theory is that some of these big Chevy trucks have diesel engines in them. Diesel engines rarely make enough vacuum to run the vacuum
To run
stuff.
the vacuum, yeah, to run all the systems on vacuum. Okay.
And so what they do on the diesel versions of these General Motors trucks is run the power steering pump. The power steering doesn't come from vacuum, it comes from a pump that runs off the pulley.
Right off the pulley, yeah.
Apparently they re-hose that up and run that same pump through a different brake unit,
Okay.
and that's how it's powered for power brakes.
All right. All right.
And you
So
don't
no
have vacuum at all, you have the other thing.
Okay. So they're powered by hydraulic pressure then?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. From the power steering pump. Okay.
Right. And so we don't want this noisy vacuum pump
Yeah,
that you have
comes
to
on
add
and
on
off. And, yeah. Oh, I know.
and then run out of vacuum and have really stiff brakes until it builds back up.
Yeah.
I've never liked that situation. But this vehicle, fortunately, this Avalanche platform has come in a variety of sins.
Yeah.
I believe they have actually had this on some of these trucks. Not the Escalade, but basically the same thing. And the theory is that we could convert this to using the power steering pump power to run the power brakes.
Okay. And the master cylinder just bolts right onto this then, I take it. From what I'm looking at here, yeah. Okay.
Now here's the issue. I don't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, no, we've
This
never
is
done this.
reading and typing myself smart.
Yeah, right.
And so what I would like to do is take the truck to someone competent to make this conversion
Okay.
before we ever tear the truck up.
Yeah, then we'll know we have brakes.
Well, then we have brakes before we ever start tearing things down.
Before you start doing it. Yeah, that makes sense.
And so Jeff over at Sling Blade has a lot of vehicles over there and seems knowledgeable. Do you think he would entertain the idea of attempting this conversion?
I'm gonna talk to him on Monday. He was out of town today,
Mm-hmm.
but you know, he does a lot of diesel and conversions and a lot of high performance stuff with trucks.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that might be, if he's interested, I think he might be a guy to give this a whack.
This may just bolt right in place, but what I think we'll run into is like bolts being the wrong length, this little thing being the
Right.
wrong length, that sort of thing. But they put this unit in this truck, basically, in an Avalanche or, with a diesel.
With the diesel, yeah, which is this platform, yeah.
And so I think it will go in there. It may not be a drop-in go in there.
Yeah, it may need to be fabricated a little.
Yeah, and the Cadillac has a movable brake pedal.
Oh, that's right. Yep, you can adjust them
You
for
can
your
adjust the brake
your,
pedals.
Yeah, for your
I
length.
don't think that's going to interfere with it, but that's an issue. Anyway, I'd like to get it converted, tested, and make sure we've got brakes before we pull the engine.
No, I think that makes sense.
do all
Otherwise, that's
that.
going to give us a whole
One
other
less
issue with the
thing.
conversion that is going to really, that we're really not interested in doing, but interested in having, and it working, yes.
Well, if he just tells us that won't happen, then we'll go back to a different plan.
Yeah, okay. No, I
But
like that. I like
I
that.
think that'll work out pretty well that way. And so we're going to get back on the Escalade. And my goodness, that engine doesn't have 7,000 miles on it. That's going to be a find for somebody. But the car sets. I drive these electrics, and unless it's a hot day in July or a cold day in February, this one doesn't move.
No, it doesn't move much at all.
We're going to do a conversion, put 1,500 pounds of Winston Battery Company 400 amp hour cells in the back.
Yeah, 57
Whoa.
of them. Yeah, 1,500 pounds.
I would say after the Cobra that our 211s ought to do about 1,000 foot-pounds of torque.
Enough to tear this car apart.
And I think we can get it all working where the car doesn't really know the engine's missing.
Yeah.
Even the computer.
Good, good.
And that's the goal. And we'll see how we do.
Great.
All righty. This episode of EVTV is brought to you by the Winston Battery Company Limited, makers of high-capacity lithium-yttrium rare earth cells, including the popular 160 amp-hour model featuring cycle lives in excess of 5,000 cycles when discharged to 70%, the longest useful working life of any available battery of any chemistry. A leading battery technology scientist, inventor, and entrepreneur since 1995, Mr. Winston Chung envisions a new world of clean electric power for the dawn of a new era of electric vehicles. For your next electric vehicle design project, contact Winston Battery Limited. Energy for a bright future. Well, it's a small step forward.
Well, but I like your idea of let's get that braking thing done now while we're driving the car, because what if we can't get it accomplished? We'll have a car with no brakes.
Yeah.
That would be a bummer.
That would be annoying.
Yeah, so I like that. And I don't, and that way someone else can do it too.
I think this build's going to go pretty quick in spite of its size. We had started it and were accumulating parts.
Yeah.
And did things on the heater and the battery box and stuff and the motor along the way.
Yeah.
Well, we still have all that. The Escalade was well underway when we took on the Cobra and got obsessive about that. but we still have the parts.
Yep.
And
Batteries are here, yeah.
We have all the batteries. We have, so I think this could go relatively quickly. If we wanted it to, I kind of want to enjoy it, but this is going to be the biggest EV, I think, out there. About 7,200 pounds.
Yeah, it's going to be a big vehicle.
Cadillac Escalade.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty big.
With 1,500 pounds of
Yeah, batteries.
lithium batteries,
Yeah.
71 kilowatt pack,
Yeah, 57 400
and two
amp hour
11-inch
cells.
motors on a 4-inch shaft.
Yes.
And so it's not really the, probably all in, you're talking about a $160,000 project. I'm not sure I'd recommend that for all our viewers. But for bragging rights, I'd kind of like to have it. And it'd be styling for me to be driving around in it.
Oh, yeah.
In inclement weather.
Yep, yep. Yeah, either way, the heat, the cold, it'll be nice. It's going to be a nice vehicle.
So I guess the question is, Brian, are electric cars about progressing from a $50,000 car to a $160,000 car and beyond,
Okay.
which is certainly fun work.
Uh-huh.
I was talking to Dwayne Ball today. Of course, his Porsche 904, I think the roller was close to 60 grand
Yeah,
before he started.
I think so. Yeah, I think I was, 60
And
grand.
we were talking about maybe going the other direction. Let's go back the other direction. And I was fascinated by a video I saw this week with David Smith of Factory 5.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Let me show you a little excerpt of, we'll
Okay.
steal part of his video.
All right.
I'm David Smith, and I'm the president of Factory 5 Racing. Now, all of you know in the last couple of years, we put a lot of money and investment in improving our existing product lines. But today I want to talk to you about an exciting new design. We've codenamed it the 818. Now, the new project is spearheaded by Jim Shank, who's our director of R&D, and he's going to talk to you about the design parameters on the car. Now, I'm going to come back and show you some of the designs that have been made by way of an online design competition that was held in conjunction with Grassroots Motorsport and our company, SolidWorks and Hewlett-Packard. So here's Jim to tell you more about the new car.
The idea behind the 818 is to produce an affordable, elemental sports car. Basically something that we can build for around $15,000 to $20,000, but still perform at a level that's close to any sports car out there today. So the center of gravity, the power to weight ratio, the braking, all of the balance points on the chassis, all the suspension geometry, we can optimize around the Subaru gear and still basically create a package that weighs around 1,800 pounds and performs like a modern sports car should. The basis behind the 818 is the Subaru running gear. Using the flat 4, using the stock transaxle, just converting it to two-wheel drive, gives us that real low center of gravity, gives us an engine that can produce a whole lot of power but still maintain real good reliability, which is a good basis for the car. And then we use all the other parts that we can possibly pull out of that Subaru so that we can maintain the affordability. We're using the suspension, the brakes, the pedal assemblies, the cooling system, basically any pieces we can use and not compromise the final design of the car, we do. And what that gives us is a car that ends up being around $15,000 to build, but it still performs like a car that costs twice as much.
All right, so Jim told you about the design parameters of the car, and we're really applying all the things we've learned over the last 15 years. Design a great chassis, suspension, running gear combination that is something that can be built affordably, but it'll deliver fantastic performance. Now, the last linchpin here is the looks of the car. Now I'm going to show you the results of our online design competition. This was held in conjunction with Grassroots Motorsport. We had over 700 entries. Here are the best of the best.
that concept.
I like kit car business.
Yeah, it
See,
really
kit
is.
car, you
Yeah.
get to build the whole car,
Yeah,
and you wind up with a new car.
right. Yeah,
And,
it really is
and
cool.
it offers some opportunities for customization that are just easier than dealing with an old car.
Right. Yeah.
Nothing wrong with renovating a classic, but
No.
I like the kit car. David Smith has done very well in that business.
Yeah, he's kind of the top of the heap. His vehicles
I guess
are.
they're kind of the top kit car manufacturer.
Yeah, their cars are very well done and usually quite expensive. This concept is very intriguing.
Well, now he started out with that Ford
Yeah, yeah.
Roadster, I
The
guess.
34, I guess.
Yeah.
With, 34,
And
33
the
Ford. Yeah.
Cobra.
Yeah.
And he's kind of marched it up. Now his GTM is 19,900 and requires a whole Corvette.
Requires an entire Corvette, yeah, donor.
Donor. So you're at about 35 to be on the road in
Yeah,
that car.
yeah.
I found his take of let's go back the other direction on kit cars to be an appropriate posture for us as well.
Yeah, no, I agree.
And his a new concept, which will be probably in beta the middle of 2012 and shipping toward the end of 2012, is the Factory 5 Model 818.
Yeah, it's an intriguing concept.
Now the 818, he's going to sell the kit for $9,900.
Yeah, wow.
And the car is going to be very lightweight at a finished wet weight without driver of 818 kilograms. That's
yeah.
where the 818 comes from. That's about 1,800 pounds.
About 1,800. That's a nice little car.
And he's going to deliver that kit at $9,900, and it's already painted.
Right, with the gel coat, I guess, right, yeah.
So you don't have to paint it.
Yeah.
His story is that with a single donor Subaru,
Right, an Impreza
an
or
Impreza
WRX.
WRX,
Yeah.
you can be on the road for 15 grand in a snazzy, really sexy looking little two-seat mid-engine sports car.
Yeah.
Modern one.
Yeah, nice chassis, good suspension, yeah.
Probably doesn't get you air conditioning, heat, and stereo.
No,
but
I don't get any of that, no.
we can't do an electric car for $15,000. It's about $15,000 in parts.
Right, our components to do the electric, yeah.
That's pretty minimal.
Yeah? Yeah. It's
But
doable.
by the middle of next year,
Yeah.
would it be possible for us to take his $9,900 kit and somehow bare minimum $15,000 in batteries and equipment and do a $25,000 scratch Factory 5 818 that's electric drive?
I mean, we may need a few more Subaru parts, some suspension, I don't know what all comes with it, but it
Well,
shouldn't be too
yeah.
bad.
Yep, you have to have the Subaru
Yeah, it shouldn't be too
parts.
bad, but I think we could get it around there, because next year, we may be at our battery prices may have come down a little bit, things may be a little bit different as the market
Or
moves.
should we take his $9,900 kit and then blow it out into a supercar?
I guess it depends.
I guess it depends.
You'll have to stay tuned.
Let's see what our viewers say.
Yeah.
But I'm considering this. I want you to get with Dave like a brother, and maybe Bill Ritchie over at High Performance EVs, and see if we can put together a project that we might be able to move the token here a little bit.
A little bit, yeah.
Into a car that anyone could build pretty easily
Yeah, when you're working with a chassis like that.
at 25 grand.
Yeah.
No paint involved.
No?
Kind of bolt it together and make her go.
Uh-huh.
And let's see what kind of electric car we could come up with
Okay.
for that.
That would be fun. It'd be a fun
And,
project.
And see what our viewers think, whether we ought to go after ultimate range and performance or ultimate economy.
Okay? It's up to you guys.
And let us know. But I think that would be an interesting project. And of course, we're kind of shopping for next year's projects. So if you have some other ideas of what you'd like to see, we're all ears. Probably gonna avoid ceramic bearings.
Yeah, no ceramic bearings.
$325 piece. I think I'm gonna save my ducats on
Yeah.
that deal.
No exploding ceramic bearings, no?
And no, I don't think that's going to work for me. And so, again, I'll put up on the blog, I'm going to put the graphs for the Aptima Motors Cobra and the full spreadsheet. There's actually a lot of data in there. I mean, I've got, the fluke measurements
Right.
on battery and motor amps, and the interface module measurements, and the RPM from the gauge as opposed to the RPM from the WinPap, and all this in spreadsheets. And then this is simply extracted. You may have an interest in some other data to compare, and I'll post the entire Excel spreadsheet and the graphs on the blog. It is my belief this will be the first published data, actual hard performance data, on an electric Cobra.
Electric Cobra, yeah.
On an 11 HV
Yep.
and on a WarpDrive Industrial controller.
Yep, I think so.
If you have any interest in any of those, that'll be it.
It'll be up there for you.
And so that's it for this week. I'm Jack Rickard.
And I'm Brian Noto.
We'll see you all next weekend.